You should have closed your windows and got another dog. You should have chained up all the doors and switched up all the locks. And how many times have I prayed?
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
It's the biggest lie that has been out there. Thankfully, now the truth is coming out because people are actually taking the time to read the bill or talk to their legislative affairs team that we worked on as we were drafting the bill. That's the case for Coca-Cola and Delta. And obviously, Major League Baseball didn't care what was said because they just folded to the pressure. And even President Biden's own handlers couldn't give him a note card that told him what this bill did. And somebody's lying to you, and it is not me. And you can read the bill and prove that out.
That is Georgia Republican Governor Brian Kemp firing back at all of those who have said the state of Georgia has now passed this legislation, the Republican legislature passing it, that will restrict and disenfranchise minority voters. You know, one of the things that they changed in there, first of all, the state of Georgia has had, you have to give a voter ID to vote all this time anyway. All they did now is add it to the fact that if you're voting absentee, we have to see some evidence of you are who you are. And they're apparently also willing to accept, which I wouldn't, but they're willing to accept, if you don't have a voter ID with your picture on it, a utility bill or something to show that you actually live at that address where we're sending it. Okay, that's at least a start. But I think you could pick that up somewhere in the trash. Now, if they're sending it to that specific address, and you got to get there to intercept the mail, some folks might do it. But that was the thing that they were saying is wrong. And of course, they made up this lie too that you're going to die of thirst and hunger out on the voting line waiting to get in, and also that polls close at 5:00. Not true. And in fact, in Chuck Schumer's state, New York, which is also the home of the MLB Major League Baseball commissioner, which decided to yank the All-Star game out of Georgia, they have fewer voting days than Georgia. New York State has 10. Georgia now has 17. And yes, Saturdays are available, at least one. They might add a second, and even a Sunday voting if necessary. But as Governor Kemp said, these folks like James Quincy of Coca-Cola and then Delta Airlines and some of these others denouncing the Georgia voting law along with the MLB Commissioner Manfred, Governor Kemp said, and I'm going to read it exactly, he said, doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And in fact, he says what we have going on here, obviously, is just cancel culture to try to push us around. Listen to this.
It has nothing to do with the merits of the bill. It is all political pressure from a loud minority of people, the cancel culture. They've been shaking people down for a long time. They've obviously not only gotten to corporations in Major League Baseball, they've gotten to the White House, too.
Yeah, they have. And the governor says, I think some of the Democrats that pushed for this or that were upset with our law and trying to make a lot of noise about it are probably regretful they did so. And in fact, we know to some extent, yes, that's true. Stacey Abrams, who ran against Kemp and lost, despite all the effort from Oprah and all the rest who came in. And, of course, she says, I was cheated. She can say she was cheated, and she can say there was fraud. Those who voted for Trump who say the same thing, now, you can't say that. She can. And they do. And to that extent, has Hillary ever admitted I actually lost fairly to Donald Trump? Nope. But now they're going to move the MLB out of Georgia, out of Atlanta, to Denver. It's another blue state. Georgia's not a blue state, but it's going to make sure it goes to a blue state and helps out. But here's the real issue with that. The governor says these boycotts referenced Coca-Cola, Delta, and now pulling the game out. He said, you're hurting the hardworking small business people in Cobb County and the Atlanta area, he said, specifically. He said people should be scared to death that it's going to happen to them. They'll be coming next. And to that extent, When they're taking it out of Atlanta, they're taking it out of a city that is predominantly black and putting in a city in Denver that's predominantly white. And you're taking money out of the folks who are wait staff primarily, service hotels, restaurants, or at the baseball game itself, that were really looking forward to that. And now they're not going to have it. They had that money coming. It is estimated that $100 million, minimum $100 million, now has been yanked out of Georgia. And actually, even on the left, you've got folks like Stacey Abrams basically was trying to get the MLB not to go that far. I mean, once that train started, she could not stop it. She was basically saying, don't pull out. I mean, don't leave. They made the decision. And now she's got to explain to her voters as to what she did to cause them $100 million loss. Senator Rand Paul specifically on that point.
There's all these people who are woke, but now even the woke, like Stacey Abrams, are starting to see, oh, no, what have I unleashed? Just lost my state $100 million in revenue. Stacey Abrams and the Democrats cost Georgia $100 million in revenue because they complained about something they didn't read, and they said about it that wasn't true.
It's as simple as that, but they did what they wanted to. But Abrams, in one of her statements, said, here's her statement directly, Black, Latino, AAPI, and Native American voters that are the most suppressed over this new Georgia law are the most likely to be hurt by potential boycotts of Georgia. To our friends, please do not boycott us. To our fellow Georgians, stay and fight, stay and vote. Well, she wanted some action. She got it. And she's not, this whole attitude of voter ID issue that you often hear that, well, they are basically mocking and I'd say belittling minority voters, specifically black voters, that they're not smart enough or can't get a voter ID, which, by the way, the state of Georgia will make available for them, free. A voter, if they don't have a voter picture ID, they will do it for them. They will make one for them. No charge. And what they're doing now in Georgia, that every time you go to renew your license, they will automatically put you on the voter rolls. But they're going to make sure your address is still the same. You haven't moved. There are a lot of folks out there on the left that have not been happy with the way this has been going through. But now they're stuck with it. And all the boycotts underway. And they want to punish Georgia. How are they punishing Georgia? Well, taking the MLB out is really big. Senator Rand Paul says, don't just sit there. Fight back.
Major League Baseball wants to boycott the whole state of Georgia, including Atlanta. They've already gotten rid of the All-Star game and the draft, and they're doing it because they don't like a Republican law, a law that actually expands voting and doesn't contract voting. Georgia now has more early voting than New York has, so it's kind of ridiculous. Even the facts don't meet what they're trying to do. But my point is, if they want to boycott us, why don't we boycott them?
And a lot of folks have already said that. I read you yesterday some comments I've been receiving at Larry Connors USA Facebook, Larry Connors USA at gmail.com. You can always write as well. And many were saying, I'm done. Now they're taking this sport away. My brother had sent word the other day. He said, I was planning last weekend. He said, I was planning on sitting down and watching my Houston Astros play. I'm excited for it. And then they yanked the game out of Atlanta, the All-Star game, because of this. He said, I'm done. I'll find something else to do. Numbers are down everywhere. Now, yes, people are still going. Those showing up at the Rangers Stadium for their opening game, there were folks there that wanted to go, take a kid, whatever they want to do. You do know, of course, that if MLB, Major League Baseball, if you're picking up a ticket at a will call window, you do have to show ID. You have to show you are who you are before they're going to give you the tickets. And, of course, if you look a little young and you're in the stands, you want to buy a beer, you're going to have to show an ID. I don't care what your color is or how much money you got. They're going to want an ID if they think you're too young. What are you going to do, cry out? No, that's racist. You can't do that to me. Senator Rand Paul says you need to fight back, and folks are talking about doing it. They're canceling baseball. One of our listeners, I told you yesterday, had sent me an email, said, I've been a Cardinal baseball fan for 40 years, and I just dropped my season tickets. I don't know how many others are following that. Some of them had started doing it, believe me, last season when baseball and the other pro sports all caved and put MLB on everywhere, every time you turned around, and not MLB, but BLM, Black Lives Matter, and to the point it's just everybody's face. I said, I didn't come here. And even minority groups said, can we just have the game? I came for that. Some were acceptable, but then it's going away. Finally, they finally recognize it. The NBA Commissioner Silver said, this next year we're not going to have anything like that on our jerseys. We're not going to have any social justice on the jerseys, things of that nature. We're going to play the game because we found out the fans just want to see a game. That's true. But here's Rand Paul again, Senator Rand Paul. He said, by fighting back, this is going to be the only way for us to teach these guys a lesson. Please listen.
This is the only thing that will teach them a lesson. If Coca-Cola wants to only operate in Democrat states and wants only Democrats to drink Coca-Cola, God love them. We'll see how well they do when half of the country quits drinking Coca-Cola, when half the country quits using Delta.
Yeah.
So the thing is they're all woke, but they're really doing something that is against the financial interest of every business. Publicly traded businesses usually don't get involved with politics because it hurts their bottom line to make half the country unhappy.
So are we going to have going forward red colas, blue colas, red airlines, blue airlines? In other words, you're going to fly, but I only want a red airline, not a blue airline. Again, my brother down in Texas said, I'm not going to fly Delta again. We're trying to get out to Carolina to see a sister. And he said, we're just going to cancel the ticket, not going to fly, not going to go Delta because they're putting all the pressure on Georgia and making big noise, which is a lie. It would be different if it were factual, but it's not. They've been toying with us for some time, a lot of people, and unfortunately it's going to hurt the very people they say they're trying to protect. That's one of the bigger issues you got to keep in mind. But then don't forget being at the top of the food chain in the progressive movement and being woke at the top of the chain, you're still pretty good. You're still okay. For instance, Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred, who lives in New York City, which has fewer voting days in Georgia, also has a membership in Georgia's Augusta National Golf Club. Augusta. Senator Marco Rubio, Florida Republican, wrote him and said, are you going to give up your personal membership to the Augusta National Golf Club? Are you gonna do what you're trying to make everybody else do? You pull the ball game out, and then you're going to go to Georgia at the Augusta National and keep your membership and probably be there to watch the Masters, which CBS says they are going to carry, even though everyone's saying, well, the Masters itself, that goes back to slavery reference anyway. It should have been canceled long ago. You think he's going to give up his membership? You're right. And CBS is going to carry it. They'll make all the noise they want, but they want the dollars out of that. But then what about these same companies? What are they doing because they're upset with Georgia? What are they doing since they're so concerned about human rights? What are they doing in reference to China? That story coming up.